Greetings. You've tuned into Crossroads Coven Connections, where faith meets magic. I'm Amber Mayer from Manitoba, Canada.
And I'm Sarah Christine from Chicago, USA. We are practicing witches and Reiki masters who view the magical and mundane world with an Abrahamic lens.
Quick disclaimer for the listeners. Unfortunately, my husband decided to install our smoke alarm despite not adding new batteries. So if you hear a little beep about every few minutes or so, every 15 minutes, I apologize for that. Unfortunately, I'm not tall enough to reach it and to take it down.
Disclaimer for me as well, I am getting over a cold, so I might sound a little different today. I might sniffle a little, but we're all good. We're going to push through it.
Today, we are changing things up in honor of the Eras Tour ending and Taylor's birthday on the 13th. So, we are discussing Taylor Swift and magical correspondences. So, first of all, I'll admit that I am a fairly new initiated Swiftie. I came in during the Fearless era, but I wasn't fully, like, she wasn't being added to my playlist. She was, I wasn't buying any of the CDs, nothing like that. However, every time her songs came on the radio, you bet I knew every word. You bet I knew almost every song that was on that Fearless album. It wasn't until probably between Midnight's and Tortured Poets department that I truly got initiated, thanks to Sarah. She told me, hey, you need to really up the Swiftie levels in your life. So she made me my own Amber's version playlist on Spotify, and with notes, like all of the details on every song and how it was written, why it was written, who it was written for. And that truly, truly delved me in. So then when the Tortured Poets department came out, we literally listened for it, like, as it came out and was released on Spotify, and I was all in at that point. I was like, okay, I accept the fact that I am now a Swiftie.
Yeah, so I, on the other hand, have been a Swiftie literally since the beginning. Like before she was even on like country radio, I was a Swiftie. And I remember, so I used to live in Florida, and what is now known as something else. It used to be Downtown Disney. Now it's something else, but it's Downtown Disney. Um, and I remember we were looking everywhere for her first CD, like the day that it came out. We couldn't find it anywhere. I was like, Dad, we are going to Downtown Disney because they had a huge FYE. I knew that they would have it. They had everything. I was like, we're going to Downtown Disney and we are getting this CD. So my lovely father drove us like an hour in Orlando traffic to go to Downtown Disney. We walked in, went straight to the FYE, went straight up to the country. I found it. I got it. It was mine. On in that album, if you open it, I don't remember if it was on the like booklet or if it was on the actual CD. It was a picture of her foot with a little heart drawn on it. I used to draw that heart on my foot in Sharpie every day.
Aww.
Yeah, I dropped off a little bit in the Speak Now era. I'm not gonna lie, because I was like in love with Taylor Lautner, and so
Who
I was.
wasn't?
I know.
Team Jacob.
So I was exactly. So I was like incredibly offended that she was dating Taylor Lautner during the Speak Now era. So I really didn't listen to that album. I'm going to be honest with you, but funny enough, that's actually my favorite album now.
You know what? I thought they were so cute in that Valentine's Day movie. I thought they were just the perfect thing. But yes, I mean, I had such a crush on Taylor Lautner, even from, sorry, this is a little, we're stemming onto a different Taylor, but since Shark Boy and Lava Girl, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, that was my man. And forget Edward. I do not care about Robert Pattinson. I want to be, I had this jacket that said part of the wolf pack, you know? So I understand that. I understand.
So yeah, I did drop off a little bit, but when Red came out, I was right back into it. And like, I've gotten my sister to be a Swiftie. I've gotten my husband to be a Swiftie. You, like all my friends, I'm like, I know what song to have them listen to first. I'm like, listen to this and tell me if you hate Taylor Swift. And then they'll listen to it and they're like, oh, so I listened to that song and now I'm diving in. So
the ultimate DJ. You just know the whole playlist, all the songs, and you just know how to specifically pick that one that just, hey, here's your trauma.
Exactly. Not only trauma, but like, what are you going through? Let me figure out what song will hurt you the most right now, because that's my goal.
Psychoanalysis through Taylor Swift.
That's my goal with music, is to hurt you. So
The opposite of music therapy.
and she knows exactly how to do that. So,
but you know what? It
so
is
anyway,
therapy, though, in a way.
it
Like,
is.
oh man, smallest man who ever lived. Like, I was going through it at that time, and I just,
Yeah.
I would, that angst that I felt and the tears. Like, I would be listening to that song in the car, and I'd be totally fine, and then that song would come on, and then I'm just screaming at the windshield.
Yes.
It is a form of therapy, I think.
So yeah, that's my history with Taylor Swift. I've been there literally since the beginning, even before the beginning. And yeah, that kind of brings us to where we are.
Well, and that's so cool because not a lot of people can say that they have been with an artist since the beginning. Like, even one of my other my other favorite artists, Owl City, who sang Enchanted, and Taylor Swift and them had this beautiful correlation with that. But like I wasn't even able to join him when he started. Like, I joined him at Fireflies. I wish I knew him sooner, but I definitely joined him at Fireflies. So not very many people can say that they've been with an artist since the beginning. That's so cool.
Yeah, I love it. Also, can I just say that I love the whole like Enchanted, and then they did like a song about that song and whatever, because they never even dated.
I know, and I so wanted them to, but I was
Right.
understanding they weren't the right people. It was just such a great publicity stunt for both of them. Honestly, it was great.
Right. Well, like basically what happened was like they were behind the scenes. Is that? Yeah, they were backstage is what I was looking for, at an award show, just like chit-chatting. And he said when they were leaving, shook hands and said it was enchanting to meet you. And she just had to write a song about it. So
And I've actually met Adam Young personally. I went VIP for his tour. When was that? 2020, 2016, I want to say. And it was at Minnesota, and it was on my birthday. So I traveled from country to country to go meet this man. And enchanting is such a word he would use. Absolutely.
Yeah,
like, he is and he is such, and I know this is with Taylor too. Not that I've ever met Taylor, but I can just really feel that from her. Like, she is such an authentic person, and he is the exact same way. He actually sounds better in concert than he does on CD, in my honest opinion. And he is such an incredibly authentic person. Like, you can just feel his aura, which we'll talk about a little bit later with Taylor as well. So if you don't know this, Sarah is very, very good at astrology. She has taught me everything I know about astrology, and she wants to highlight some important things in Taylor's natal chart. So go ahead and take it away, Sarah.
Yeah, so we don't actually know her exact time of birth, because we've had two reliable sources tell us 2 different days. So like, not sure which one is actually reliable. But based off of just looking at her chart, I'm actually only going to talk about the 8:36 a.m. possibility, because I know it's hard to like assume what we know about a famous person because they only show us what they want to show us. But based on what I think I know about Taylor Swift, it's just the one that makes the most sense. So, starting out, her sun is in Sagittarius. As we know, this is kind of like a luckier sign, but it is very fickle, right? Like, the Sagittarians in my life are people who are like, let's go on a random weekend trip to Paris. And like, they plan it all out, they buy the plane ticket, and then they wake up in the morning and they're like, I don't want to go, right? So her sun is in that sign. And it's unaspected, which means that it's not interacting with any other planet in terms of like trine, conjunction, anything like that. It's just chilling on its own there.
Interesting.
So people with sun signs that are unaspected tend to kind of be more solitary. They tend to be like loners. They don't need to surround themselves with like a huge group of friends. But they do frequently, like, just because she's solitary doesn't mean she's a loner, basically, right? Like, she has a group of friends, she has a relationship. So yeah, that's something to take in consideration with her. Her moon is domiciled in Cancer, and it's conjunct Jupiter, which makes her love a lot harder.
That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So her circle might be small, but she loves them so fiercely. However, Uranus is opposing the Moon Jupiter combo, which kind of enhances her already independent Sagittariusness, right? I always say this about my husband. I'm like, I don't need him, but I want him.
Yeah, that's major. Yeah, major energy there.
Yeah. And funny enough, her Venus is in Aquarius, which is a pretty detached sign, right? Especially
Yeah.
for, and it is also unaspected. It's pretty interesting about her. Mars is also in its domicile in Scorpio. This is kind of where her sharp tongue comes from. And I don't know if she necessarily holds grudges. I mean, just because she sings the songs for years and years doesn't mean she's still angry at,
Yeah.
right? Especially if you look like she, made a baby blanket for Joe Jonas's baby.
Yeah,
She
and
made
wasn't Taylor
it.
Lautner in one of her music videos too?
Yeah, he was, and they like are friends, and so I don't know if she necessarily holds grudges, but she definitely has a sharp tongue, and that Mars and Scorpio, or yeah, Mars and Scorpio is where that comes from.
It's interesting about the sharp tongue because I mean that really comes out in her lyrics, especially during her rap era. Like, whoo,
And in Tortured Poets Department, right?
yes,
Like the smallest man who ever lived. I try to like explain this to my sister and my husband because like the smallest man who ever lived, I say is her best song, and they're
yeah,
like, "What are you talking about? Like she had like." It's a good song, but like her best song, and I'm like, I'm not talking like musically or like production value. I'm talking like what song when I listen to the bridge makes me actually like jaw on the floor, like I cannot believe she just said that
yes.
type of song.
I
And
ball
then
every time I hear that song.
the bridge, I can't with the bridge.
And everyone can relate to it somehow. It just shows her prowess and her power in those
Right.
words.
I actually saw a post, this is kind of related. I saw a post yesterday that was like, you can relate to any Taylor Swift song if you had a detached father. Like, even if you didn't have that sort of relationship, you can relate to her songs if you have daddy issues.
Absolutely. Even brother issues to a degree.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
uncle
for sure.
issues or any
Yeah, any man.
patriarchal issue.
Exactly. So anyway, back to her chart. Saturn is in Capricorn, and this is the third um planetary body or third planet that is in its domicile, which means it's like in its home sign. It's where it wants to be. And this is where her work ethic comes from.
Totally.
Um,
I can see that.
and planets that are in the sign that they rule, they tend to have a stronger influence in that part of your birth chart. So yeah, that's like the basic stuff that doesn't have anything to do with her birth time. So that stuff is accurate no matter which birth time you think is correct. But now we're going to get into the stuff that actually changes based on the birth time. And like I said, I'm going by 8:36 a.m. Oh, she was born on December 13th, 1989 in Reading, Pennsylvania. And like I said, for these purposes, 8:36 a.m. So she has a Capricorn rising.
Yeah. Yes, she does.
Yeah, and it's kind of a double whammy with this because Saturn rules Capricorn,
Right.
which is the ascendant, and Saturn is in Capricorn, which it rules.
So comfy.
Right.
That's why she's
Yeah.
probably incredibly successful and feels home in success.
Right, because like you can be as talented as you want. If you don't work for it, you're not getting it.
No.
Like it's not happening. In the Speak Now era is really where I see this because so in her Fearless era was when she got, I would say like when she took off like the most, but and then she was getting a lot of hate. They were saying that her songs were auto-tuned. They're saying that the only reason she was successful was because she had men helping her write her songs. So in her Speak Now era, she decided that she was not going to have any co-writers, not even female co-writers. She was going to write every single song herself by herself. And she went through vigorous voice lessons. Like she was like, "No, I'm going to prove to you guys like I've worked for this. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't need a man to make me successful." And I definitely see that with her, the Capricorn rising. Moving on though, the sun is in the 12th house, and this is where we tend to prefer kind of to work behind the scenes. Um, but there are four other planets in the first house of personality, right? So this would make her more personally available. So even though the sun is in her 12th house, which makes us want to work behind the scenes, the fact that she has so many planets in the first house is what kind of pushes her out of that and makes her want to perform and makes her want to work more not behind the scenes, right?
So she's like well rounded in both
Yeah.
areas of her life. Like she is obviously an incredible performer,
Yeah.
incredible image, and has the ability to articulate things in a way that everyone can understand and not be afraid to say those things in public.
Right.
But then because she, like in that 12th house, she's so articulate behind the scenes, I think that's where, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later with the numerology, but I think that's where a lot of her incredible detail and the clowning and all that stuff kind of comes
Yeah.
in. Like she can plan this and articulate, curate this big master plan, but then she can also move forward with it and be the face of it all.
Right. And like she's obviously comfortable in the public eye, but like, she's comfortable surrounded by people, but I can also see that she's comfortable on her own,
Yeah.
right? Like she doesn't need to be surrounded by people. She doesn't need that spotlight on her. Let's talk about the ascendant and descendant access, which is like if you think about it's just the center, right? For those who don't know astrology very well, the ascendant descendant axis is literally like if you think about the what is the thing in the earth that's like the center?
Equator.
Equator, thank you. It's like the equator of the birth chart. Um, so it is Mercury is her ascendant and Jupiter is her descendant, which means that the axis is actually activated. This axis, I'm sorry, I'm just studying it. So it describes like the way we balance our own personality development, right? So our ascendant with our descendant is how we kind of balance our personality development with our relationships to others.
Okay.
So kind of like I was saying with her, I'm actually pretty sure her sun, yeah, the sun is in the 12th house, which like I said, that's how it balances, that's how she balances, right? Like she's happy alone, but she's also able to have deep, meaningful relationships with people. So that's where that comes from. Um, her Mars is in Scorpio in the 11th house. And this is her social groups, right? So this is saying that someone or it's saying that she's someone who is active in groups, right? She plays like the leader role in her circle. Um, which I think is really interesting because when you think about it, she does have her circle is people who I'm like, I don't think you guys would ever be together if it weren't for Taylor Swift,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like she's got like Ryan Gosling is one of her best friends. Not Ryan Gosling, Ryan Reynolds.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I thought they were sworn enemies, those two.
Yeah. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively are like some of her best friends. Betty, her song Betty is written about her, like their children. Their kids' names are Betty, James, and who's the other one in that song? I'm blanking. Um, Inez. Like I heard the rumors from Inez. That's like it's not obviously about their kids, but the names are like it was a nod to them. So anyway, she has people like them, and then she has people like Ice Spice, and I'm like, I don't think Blake Lively and Ice Spice would ever be in a room together.
And Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, like her, the Super Bowl suite. that she had, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, there was Ice Spice, there was Lana Del Rey, there was her brother, like just so many people that like Lively was there. I'm like, none of you people would have ever met if it weren't for Taylor Swift.
But I mean, isn't that such a perfect way of like totally expressing how she works even with her music? Like two people on totally different sides of the planet that relate to a song for different reasons, like you said, whether it's daddy issues, boyfriend issues, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yet they are brought together in that
Yeah.
moment because of
Yeah.
Taylor. Like that's
Exactly.
huge.
You meet friends through her, right? Like, not only do her
Absolutely.
friends meet friends through her, but like I met our, I would now consider a mutual friend, Savannah,
Yeah.
uh, through because of Taylor Swift. Like, I wouldn't have
Savannah,
ever.
for some context, Savannah was, well, she is a friend of mine I've had since grade 7 when I was living in Texas. And she was a major Swifty at the time. I think she was just kind of getting into it around the same time I was. Like, she even sang it at the talent show. You know what I mean? She was one of those Taylor Swifties. And, she is a very good friend of mine. So when I found out that both Sarah and Savannah were phenomenal Swifties, I had to introduce them. We actually wrote we made a group chat called the Tortured Oracle Department because we all do tarot and oracle. We're all witchy girls, and we were thinking of making a Taylor Swift themed oracle deck.
Yeah, it's gonna happen one of these days. We just have so many projects going on that, but it'll happen.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah. Okay, so just to kind of wrap up this portion of the podcast, what these transits say about like important dates in her life would be 2011 through 2014, because Uranus is square the ascendant, Pluto's conjunct the ascendant, and Saturn is conjunct MC.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2018 through 2020, where Saturn is conjunct ascendant, Uranus opposite midhaven. So the timeline of her most significant times is 2014 through 2015, which was the when she was awarded the Billboard Artist of the Year. I'm pretty sure she's been awarded that multiple times, but that was the first time, I think. 2015 through 2016 was the whole Kanye debacle, as well as that was really when her dating drama, like, people started really scrutinizing her for her dating, which is so crazy to me because she hasn't had that many boyfriends. She's 34 years old, and I could probably count them all on my hands. And I'm like, there's people who have like hundreds of boyfriends by the time they're, or even hundreds of not boyfriends, but
Or
just
even
partners.
slept with 20,
Exactly.
30 people already in their
Exactly.
20s.
Yeah, and she started when she was 16. Like, come on.
And every singer, even if they don't necessarily name their exes in their songs, writes about their exes, writes about relationships. Like, I don't see how Taylor makes it any different.
Exactly.
She's just a girl. That's it.
Exactly. He's actually even said before, like, what does Ed Sheeran write about? Like, most of his songs are about relationships. Most of them are about breakups. Like, why does everybody love him but like hate on me for the same, like,
She has a vagina.
yeah, the patriarchy. I can't.
Yeah.
So anyway, 2015 through 2016 was the Kanye drama as well as the dating drama. So, and then next 2017 is when she goes into hiding,
Yeah.
right? And that's also when she had her assault trial, which some people think that's one of the reasons she went into hiding. I just think she was over it, right? Like,
All the
I don't even.
drama. Like, she just needed
Yeah,
a cleanse.
yeah, exactly. And then finally, 2019 is when she began to come back into the public eye. So,
As normal, ordinary citizens, we encourage taking that break from social media.
yeah,
We encourage that, hey, get away from your phone and just tune in and focus on your work, focus on your family, those things. But it's like when a celebrity does that, it's like, how dare you? How do you have the audacity to remove us from your life? Like, and it's
oh
so
yeah,
sad because we all need to do that. That is something in this technological world we live in. we have to practice for ourselves. So like,
Yeah.
let the girl do her thing and rest. She deserves it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And she got so much hate for that. Like you said, like she actually opened her Reputation tour with audios of like drama channels talking about her. And it's actually a very powerful opening. I'll have to send it to you because it makes me sob.
Mm.
It makes me so sad. And that's actually one of the reasons the Eras tour was like so special for me, because even though people started liking her more after this, like with Lover, Folklore, Evermore, and Midnights, ever since, so she wasn't able to tour for Lover because of COVID. She didn't tour for Folklore or Evermore either. So her last tour was the Reputation tour, and people hated her back then.
I
And
remember it was rough.
I'm like gonna get emotional talking about it right now. I don't know why. Like I just love this woman so much. And even during the Reputation tour, like it was a sold out tour, but all the news articles were so negative about her. And now during the Eras tour, not only is she breaking records and touring for more people than she's ever toured for before, people love her. I don't really see that many negative comments about her unless
Just
they
the
have to do
average, what, you know, one or two maybe on like, you know, Facebook Reels or something. But yeah,
right.
like going person to person, like I even went to a Taylor Swift event last night. It was like a little Taylor Swift dance party, and
Yeah.
I attended with friends that had tickets, and they invited me to go with them. And they said, you know, we wouldn't consider or classify us as Swifties, but we do really like the music, you know. And that's kind of, if you're not a full-blown Swiftie, you still like her to a degree.
Anyway, that was a very long-winded description of her birth chart and kind of the insight to who she is. So now, do you want to go ahead and talk about the color magic and her albums and everything?
Absolutely. So the color magic of her albums is so prominent and powerful because, you know, not only is color, as we know, powerful in psychology, but it's powerful magically speaking as well. And of course, her outfit choices, in whether they're imagery with the album or, you know, on tour during the Eras tour, are very important. You see people literally just having TikToks covering her outfits, covering all the Eras outfits. And then of course, her fans coming out and wearing their own favorite eras, their own different outfits to correlate with that essence of magic, in my opinion. Last night at the event, I wore my Fearless outfit because that's where I feel like I truly started to enjoy Taylor. And so I was kind of stepping out into my little mini debut thing, like, okay, yeah, here I am as a Swiftie.
Yeah, and not only is it like about the color magic of it when it comes to her outfits, but she's setting intentions of like what to expect, kind of, right? Like not only is she setting intentions of what to expect, but she's setting intentions that we are gonna analyze her outfit and we're gonna figure it out ourselves.
And we're going to feel this feeling either when we see this or hear this music or see these outfits, or when we wear these outfits ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And all the
Yeah.
different messages that are put into this. So the first album, of course, being Debut, was a lot of green, a lot of new life, a lot of growth that took place with that.
Yeah. And the way that kind of translates into that era is, this one's pretty obvious, right? Like new life, growth. It's her first album. Like it's truly her springtime, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
she's
I was about to say
she's
that word, springtime.
yeah, like she's blooming into the artist that she's gonna become. So that's kind of where the color magic with Debut comes in.
And Fearless, of course. The yellow, the golds, the country feel, the lace, uplifting, happiness, you know, a little bit of peace there and a little bit of romance, I find, with the lace, like Love Story. And I mean, Love Story was one of the biggest hits I remember back in the day. And like, and then that amazing change that she had during her tour where she was wearing the beautiful gown, and then during the lyrics, you know, they had that little bit of a blip and the dancers came all around her and boom, she's in her wedding gown. Like that was
Yeah.
phenomenal. I remember those were like the dawning days of the internet, And that was everywhere, all over
Yeah.
the place.
Yeah. And the thing with Fearless is like when I think I might be one of the only people who think of like happiness when I think about Fearless because, you know, there's songs on there like White Horse, Tell Me Why, You're Not Sorry, The Way I Loved You, Forever and Always, like all these really heartbreaking songs, but at the same time, there's songs like Fearless, right? That are about which that's kind of a I was going to say like pop Bible moment, but it really wasn't pop. But everybody knows that song. Whether you like country, you like pop, whether you don't like either, like everybody knows that
And
song.
that little twang that she sings with it. Everyone knows
Exactly.
it. Everyone knows it.
Exactly. Yep. And then there's Love Story, you know, You Belong With Me. There are a lot of really happy songs, but the reason I think that this album is so uplifting and like encompasses happiness for me is because like this is really where she took off.
Yeah.
Right. And
Time.
in her as a person, I mean, again, I don't know her. I didn't know her during the Fearless era. I have no idea if she was truly happy or if she was just happy on the outside. But like her as a person just seemed so youthful. I mean, obviously she was, but like just ready to take on anything and like just so happy.
Her personality really shone through in that
Yeah.
era, in my opinion. And like she was really like being authentic to herself, showing the world who she was, but then also like showing the amazing storyteller that she was. Like everyone knows the words to Romeo and Juliet. Like you can have the most like masculine guy in the corner and he's gonna sing love story when it comes on.
Yeah, it was funny you mentioned that because we my husband, my sister and her boyfriend just recently got to see her live. And during the Fearless era, so my sister's boyfriend doesn't, I want to say he doesn't like Taylor Swift, but he doesn't listen to Taylor Swift, didn't know any of her songs. During the Fearless era, he kept looking over and being like, I know this one.
So
And
true.
he was like singing along and like clapping. He knew, so like there's chants that you do live, and like he knew the chants for the Fearless era. And it truly like that era live is so fun. Like it is
I
the most
cannot
uplifting.
imagine.
It's so fun. I sob every time.
And it's so neat because during that era, so many, and I mean, this goes in a lot of her different albums, but so many of those songs hit the charts. So many of
Yeah.
them. So they were always on the radio all the time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's Fearless. Let's go into Speak Now.
Speak Now, purple. Lots of purple. We picture that beautiful purple dress that she's wearing on that album. And purple denotes a lot of wisdom, a lot of intuition. Also, like, kind of owning, being authentic to yourself, that kind of royalty role, like knowing you're the queen. And magic as well, associated with purple.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned knowing yourself and stuff because so Speak Now is, other than Torture Post Department, in my opinion, one of the saddest albums. Like we've got Back to December on there, we've got Dear John, The Story of Us, Better Than Revenge. Ugh, Innocence is like my favorite song of all time. There's quite a bit of like there's not a lot of happy in that album. It's a lot of heartbreak, right? This is when um John Mayer really like just destroyed her. And but she knows who she is, right? Like Innocent, for example, is actually about the Kanye instance where he like went up and like ruined her speech for like one of her first awards. That song is literally saying like, I get it, I forgive you, you did what you did, but like you're innocent. And I feel like you really have to know yourself and be comfortable with yourself in order to take that situation that he did to her and forgive him.
And the amount of self awareness that takes at such a
Yeah,
young age. Like, there
yeah,
are
absolutely.
50-year-olds I wish had that sort of intuition, you know?
With the magic of it all, this album, like, it's so magical. Like, it's so magical. Long live. I had the time of my life fighting dragons with you. Are you
Oh,
kidding me?
man, yes. Oh.
When our D&D campaign ends, by the way, I'm posting on Facebook, tagging everybody with those lyrics.
And I will cry.
Like, it's so good. And then we have Haunted, we have, um, you know, Enchanted,
Oh,
like
yeah.
literally Enchanted, magic. So yeah, that's the Speak Now is so magical. And like I mentioned earlier, it's really when she truly came into herself, because for Fearless, everybody was like hating on her.
Hmm.
And so she decided, okay, fine. Like, I'm going to write every single one of these songs by myself. I don't need a man to make me famous. And I'm going to do what I need to do, take voice lessons to make sure you can't say that I can't sing,
And
because
look how powerful it turned out to be.
yeah. So I love Speak Now. That era, so sad, but yeah, I
Which
love
leads
it.
us into the next era, Red. I mean,
The best one.
boom, yeah, and lots of passion, lots of motivation, courage, determination, masculine energy with Red.
So I know that I said that she was coming into herself and Speak Now, but Red to me is when everyone was talking about her,
Yeah.
right? Everybody knew 22. Everybody knew I Knew You Were Trouble. Everybody knew All Too Well. We were never ever getting back together. Like, this is when it finally started paying off for her,
She
right?
started switching genre too at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. This album is still considered, like, she was still considered a country artist with this album, but it was her trying to like to go over. So but yeah, the passion really comes out with All Too Well, especially
Yeah.
now that Taylor's version is out in the
Oh.
10-minute. I feel bad for anyone who's driving next to me when the bridge of that song's on, because I just know they think I'm in like some intense fight, because I am like banging my fist on the steering wheel. I'm like sobbing. I'm screaming. Like, so much passion.
And it's so funny now because with the movement with the Eras Tour and everyone becoming Swifties,
Yeah.
people are using that 10-minute version in their exercise and using all that
Yep.
angst and that energy
Yep.
out through their exercise. Like Savannah, she got a treadmill that she listens to that song to. And yoga, you see, or Pilates, a lot of women doing that. Or they say, oh, if you want to motivate yourself to do a half-hour run, that's 3 rounds of All Too Well. You've got this.
Exactly. And I could listen to that song 3 times in a row, no problem.
Exactly. Exactly. That 10 minutes flies.
Yeah. And so I really see her passion not only for like the love that she had, but for what she wants to do in this album, right? Like, this is like a huge album for her. Songs like Treacherous, like I said, All Too Well, I Almost Do, which songs like The Last Time, Come Back Be Here, like
Oh.
and these are such like intensely personal thoughts that she has. She had to have courage in order to put these songs out. Like,
Big time.
we are reading her diary at this point.
She is literally laying her blood out for us to see,
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
her life
So
force.
that takes us to the pop,
1989.
the
More.
pop Bible.
Yes, the pop Bible. Light blue, calmness, but also like that sense of bubbliness I get from light blue. The happy go lucky, everything's right in the calm sky.
Right, right.
Sunny days.
So yes, so as a Swiftie, this era of not of music but of her personal life was the saddest. She had a very bad eating disorder at this time.
Oh man.
People were constantly talking about her body. This was when she was in a relationship with Harry Styles, who is obviously very famous. I mean, he still is, but was very.
Didn't Ed Sheeran write a song about that? About her,
Yes.
Taylor Swift, Harry Styles, and how absolutely toxic that was? Like, just
Yes.
listening to that song made me hate Harry Styles.
Well, yes. So, but that's the thing, is like the whole relationship was toxic. She was toxic in it, especially if you listen to Taylor's version. The song "Is It Over Now" really explains how he was pretty toxic, but so was she, and she
Yeah.
admits that, right? But I think that comes with everything that she was going through,
Yeah.
right? Like, not that it's an excuse to cheat on your boyfriend, but like, there was so much just sadness for her in her life, and that time.
And that's so interesting that it didn't come out in her music at all, really. Apart from the
Yeah.
songs that she had written about it, obviously. But like those vibes you get from 1989, like I picture 1989 as like a beautiful California sunny day
Right,
on a beach, you know?
right,
I don't
right.
think about toxicity and body image and,
Exactly, which is a testament to how like just amazing of a writer she is, because we have songs like Welcome to New York, which opens the album on such a fun, like, new age perspective, right? Like, this is like the first time she says, like, boys and girls and girls, talking about like you can love whoever you want. Like, a lot of people gave her a lot of hate for that, because this is the first time a quote unquote country star has said, hey, it's okay to be gay, you know? And then we go into Blank Space, which is like such a fun song, because, and a lot of people are like, oh, Taylor's saying that she has a long list of lovers, like at least she can admit it. And I'm like, the whole point of this song is that that's what you guys are saying. Like, this song is making fun of the media. So like, you're just,
And her list
you know,
is not that long. I know some
no.
real hoes out there, that would make nuns cry. And
Right.
Taylor's
Which is
not one of
fine.
them.
Which is fine. Like,
Nothing's wrong
we're
with it.
not
Yeah.
here, right. Like, we're not here to slut shame. Like,
No, never,
we love
never.
slut. But yeah, the calm really comes into like, I wish you would, even though it's kind of like an upbeat song. It's like she's like chill with the fact that like this is happening, but like, oh, I wish you would call me. I wish you would pick up the phone. I wish you were outside my door, you know, throwing pebbles at my window. Wildest Dreams is like a
Oh.
very, yeah.
I had to, okay, so a bit of a backstory with Wildest Dreams. I had to put down my rat the day that song was on the radio. And if anyone has loved a rat, you will understand. If you haven't, I'm sorry. You have to actually experience it to understand. But they are basically little Jesus in a body that is furry and loving. And anyways, so I had
Yeah.
to put down my rat that day that song came out, and I was just bawling my eyes out to that song.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. But to wrap up 1989, I want to just say that I feel like not only the album, but the era, like, of her life can be wrapped up in the song Clean, right?
Yeah.
That song, even just like saying the name of that song, I'm about to start crying. Like, I love that song. Like, I'm finally clean. I finally washed you away, just because I'm right. Like, just because I'm quote unquote sober doesn't mean I don't crave the intoxication.
Yes.
But like, guess what? I'm clean of that. I don't need that. Just because I want it, I don't need that. And I think that that is like such a full circle song for that era, because, like I said, she's going through a lot, but like, I'm clean. I've washed my hands. I'm fine. I'm calm.
Yeah.
And I've accepted the outcome of this situation.
And calm may be feeling weird right now, but that is okay, right?
Exactly.
That is the perfect song for anyone who's dealt with trauma bonds, Stockholm syndrome, whatever you want to call it, and addiction. Like, anyone can,
Yeah.
so many people can relate to that song.
I will also say, and maybe trigger warning, but it has actually, definitely trigger warning. It has helped me so much get over my trauma with my sexual abuse that I went through.
Me too.
Like,
Me too.
yeah, at this point, my cells at least, have regenerated. That man has not touched this skin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm clean of those fingers.
Absolutely.
So, I know that got a little sad and a little dark, but like, for anybody who's not a Swiftie who's listening, if you've ever been through anything like that, or like Amber was saying, any sort of Stockholm syndrome, trauma bond, anything like that, listen to that song.
With a tissue box.
Yes, I would say you will cry all the tears, to the point that you will cry it all out. Like,
Release.
this song will cleanse you of whatever you're holding on to. I can promise you that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if it's the kind of thing where you just got to keep listening to it and just keep letting that out, that's what it's for. That's music therapy. That's what that is.
Yeah.
I studied music therapy in university, so.
That song to me is like dancing in the rain.
Yes. Crying in the shower.
Yes. Yeah. So, I do recommend that song to anybody who has dealt with anything like that. Or even if you just need to release something, even if it's not that sort of, huge trauma, just listen to that song and let yourself release it because, whew, I was saying, and that is the magic of Taylor Swift.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And moving forward to another very powerful album,
Oh,
Reputation. We all know it. We all love it. We all scream, fuck the patriarchy, you know?
yes.
Protection, authenticity, prowess, power. And I'm an animal empath, so I got to go into it. The imagery of the snake is everything because the snake, what is it? It's completely misconstrued, completely misunderstood. It is a powerful, fear striking animal that's giving me shivers. But it is something that evolves and transforms and grows despite
Yeah.
its circumstances. It is always moving forward, always creeping forward, and it's not afraid to show its power. That is Taylor in Reputation.
Yeah. Well, do you know where the snake imagery for her came from?
Because it's like it's also a symbol of feminism, right?
Well, so for her, it actually came from when the whole Kanye Kim drama was going on, where Kim recorded a phone call and then Kanye recorded a song and said some things that she didn't agree to. Um, Kim called her a snake, right?
Oh.
Because in that phone call, Kanye was saying, you know, these are lyrics. Is this okay for me to say? She said, yes, that's okay for you to say, but he didn't include a certain word that he used to describe her. And then when the song came out, she was like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
no, I did not agree to this. And put out, a statement being like, so she was like, I never wanted to be part of this narrative. I did not agree to this. Um, I'm done, basically. And so Kim put out an altered video of that conversation of her agreeing to do it. But she, like I said, she altered it to cut out the part where Taylor was like, I don't really like this part. Maybe we can change this part. And painted Taylor as this snake, as this conniving, evil, excuse my language, bitch,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because there's a national day for everything, as you know, on National Snake Day, Kim Kardashian posted was like, it's National Snake Day. Guess there's a holiday for everyone, dot, dot, dot. I mean, everything. Clearly talking about Taylor Swift. So I think it's so powerful that she took that insult and she was like, okay, fine.
Owned
I
it.
am yeah. Which, and a lot of people take like the Reputation era, the black of it all, to be about shutting out, you know, like closing it all up. But I truly, and like you said, the power, right? Like it's this like mysterious, like,
It's
yeah,
untamable.
whether she did it on purpose or not, it was for protection for her,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like this album, not a lot of people, even after the album came out, believed her and was like, she's writing all these crazy songs about this situation. Like she needs to just let it go. It was for her protection. Songs like I Did Something Bad, Look What You Made Me Do, This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things. These are all songs of like, you know, literally, look what you made me do.
And even the transformation aspect of like, I'm sorry, Taylor can't come to the phone right now. Why? Because she's dead. You know,
Yeah.
like a snake literally sheds its skin and becomes a new snake, a new person, a new thing, and evolves and grows from what it was.
This album, I mean, is not all about Kanye. She has some beautiful songs about one of her ex-boyfriends. Endgame. I want to be your endgame. We both have big reputations. I want this to be it. You love me despite what's going on. Delicate, I know that what we have right now, this is new, this is delicate. Is it okay if I say all these crazy things to you? Like, is
My
it okay?
reputation's never been worse, so he must love me for me, right?
And this album also shows a bit of transformation because she's really like taking control over the narrative. So yeah, with that, moving to Lover.
That was a big moment for me too on my Taylor Swift journey because I had a roommate that was a Swiftie and she was dating somebody from England. And they were LDR, but she was like planning on moving to be with him, and it was this whole thing. So, oh my gosh, I know every single Lover song by heart. But anyways, lots of pink, lots of pastels, lots of like romantasy, love imagery, self-love
Yeah,
imagery, and newness. We think Pink is like also a bit of new beginnings. She's embarking on a new adventure.
just like the lightness of it, like she went through Reputation, she went through this really dark period, and now she's coming out of that and into this just pure puppy love.
Soft girl era.
Seeing it in the perspective that we have now, I don't really see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It was
because
showing that. That doesn't mean it was reflecting that.
yeah, songs like Lover, obviously, songs like I Think He Knows, where it's like, I'm trying to hide my feelings for him. I'm trying not to be like so aggressive with it, but I think he knows. Songs like Paper Rings, I Love You, It Doesn't Matter, the shiny, I Don't Care, I'll Marry You with Anything, like just the pure just love of it all that I just love. Daylight, Afterglow, those are some of my favorite songs. But one thing I will say about this album is the anxiety, dude. The Archer has anxiety, Death by a Thousand Cuts, Hits Different, even Daylight and Afterglow have some anxiety. She's so in love that it's scary.
Absolutely love her.
Yeah, so I don't really have anything else to say in terms of the color correspondence with Lovers because it's obvious. Pink, love, lover, it's all there. It is what it is.
Absolutely. Folklore. Lots of gray imagery in this. We've got the black boots, we've got the lace white dress, but gray is wisdom, intuition, stability, right? That kind of stable energy of, I wouldn't say ancient times, but just like that wisdom that gets passed down through
Yeah.
different generations. Folklore.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's interesting about the Folklore and Evermore album, which obviously we'll get into, is she was telling stories that weren't hers, right? With Betty, again, the perspective that we have now, we know that they were her stories. She was just painting them a little bit differently. But she didn't want us to know that. So she was, quote unquote, telling stories that weren't hers to tell. Like Betty, she wasn't a 15-year-old who was cheated on. With August, August is actually, so Betty is a trilogy. So it's Cardigan, Betty, and August are the same story from each person's perspective. And yeah, so I see a lot of kind of stability in that, where she was going through what we know now to be a like terrible relationship, a very hard time, a very emotional time, to the point that she said multiple times on her tour, she basically turned into an alcoholic,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this was during 2020 when things were really hard. There was no stability. So she used this album as a way to find that for herself.
Yeah, I love that. And
Yeah.
that's yet another example of music therapy working for the actual singer and songwriter.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I can't even imagine how cathartic it was. Like, I just can't, especially songs like This Is Me Trying
Oh, yeah.
um, and My Tears Ricochet, which is actually about her stolen albums, right? The lyrics, If You Still Hate Me, Why Are You at the Wake? As well as the lyric that she says about my stolen lullabies, screaming at the sky, my stolen lullabies. Those stolen lullabies are debut through Reputation, right?
Mm-hmm.
That her old manager stole from her, and
Right.
like she's letting that out in such a like angsty song.
Totally. And that's the thing too about Gray is it kind of gives that bit of angst. It gives that
Yeah,
bit of like, you think overcast days with rain and with all those things and she took that imagery and put it into her music, but it's that kind of like things aren't okay right now, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna make them okay. I'm gonna make the most of this rainy day, right? Sorry, which really related to everyone during this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And like there's a bit of delusion there, She clearly was not okay, but in
Delirium, yep.
2020 yeah, we kind of all were not okay, and we kind of all were telling ourselves these stories or taking our situations and turning them into a story so that we could kind of sit with these instances or these situations that we were going through and finding a way to be okay in that.
Finding a way to be okay. Which leads us to Evermore, which is such cottagecore vibes for me. It's
Yes.
such warm, brown, grounding, hearthy, homey feelings, security,
Yeah.
grounding energy, honesty.
Yeah.
I used to call myself a brown witch because I would focus so much on the energy of hearth and home and animals and nature, the nitty gritty of it all.
I truly, with this album, I see the most honesty. Again, she is disguising it in oh, I'm telling stories, like this isn't about me. But you see Champagne Problems, right? I Wouldn't Marry Me Either. Or actually, sorry, that was a song on Midnight's, but what a shame she would have made such a lovely bride.
Yeah.
What a shame she's, messed up in the head. Um, they were together forever, and like she wanted to marry him. We knew that from Paper Rings, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't happen. And we see that in Champagne Problems. We see that in Tolerate It. I'm giving you all my love. I'm giving you my best. I'm laying my fanciest china. I'm setting the table with everything you've ever wanted. Like, I'm giving you everything that I have, and you're just dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
You're tolerating me. You're tolerating my love. And like, you have to be honest with yourself in order to write a song like that. Like,
Domestic problems, right? Focusing once again that energy on the home and
yeah,
once again using that music therapy to help other people and help them feel that comfort from Brown, right? That comfort from that energy through
yeah.
all those issues.
Or songs like Coney Island, Break My Soul into Two, Looking for You, but you're right here, right? Like, I'm looking for, to me, that means like, you're not who you used to be. You're not who you were when we got together. It even says the lyrics are, because we were like a mall before the internet. It was the one place to be, right? The mischief, the gift wrap suburban dreams. That's what we used to be. Again, you have to be, in order to write those lyrics, she had to have dug so deep and be truly honest with herself. And like, she's not honest with us in the way that she keeps telling us, like, oh, these are stories. They're not. We know they're not now. But back then we believed her, right? And so while that's not the honesty of it all, I know that she was honest with herself in those moments of like, this is about Joe, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we have obviously Marjorie is on that album.
Oh.
Song about, I can't.
Also, I just love that song in terms
Yes.
of being a medium. I think it's
Yes.
beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But my grandmother passed around the same time that that song came out, and oh my god, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot of energy there too.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, it's obviously such a heartbreaking song, but I would also say it's a very grounding song, right?
Totally, totally, just
Like,
accepting that death for what it is, and
yeah.
finding
Yeah.
comfort in that.
I know I've told you about this, but for our listeners, her grandma wanted to be an opera singer. She's always wanted to be someone who could sing in stadiums. And in I want to say it's the bridge, um, the car ride back and up the stairs, I should have asked you questions. I should have asked you how to be, asked you to write it down for me, should have kept every grocery store receipt because every scrap of you would be taken from me, which, oh my gosh, that part, I can't. Watch as you sign your name, Marjorie, all of your closets and backlog dreams and how you left them all to me.
Ugh.
What died, yeah, what died didn't stay dead, blah, blah, blah. And then, you're alive in my head. What died didn't stay dead. And if I didn't know better, I'd think you were singing to me now. In the song, in the background, you can hear her grandmother singing in the "If I didn't know better, I would think you were singing to me now." I can't. I can't. Like,
Straight up.
that
Yeah.
song is amazing, and it's so grounding. And again, she's finding that security in her grandma, right?
Totally.
All of your backlog dreams, you left them all to me. These are your dreams. I'm taking them and I'm flourishing and I am showing you
She's
just like,
honoring Marjorie
yeah,
with them.
exactly.
And even
Exactly.
just like once again on that mediumship, like what died didn't stay dead, you're alive, you're alive, like still being accessing, or sorry, still having that energy accessible, because yes, they're gone and they're on their other plane, but you can still access that energy and you can
Yeah.
still honor them, you can still
Yeah.
reverend, revere them in your day to day. And that's exactly what she's doing in that song, in that
Yeah.
memorial.
Evermore has got to be my favorite album. I could go through every single song and tell you the lore and the feelings that I feel, but let's go ahead and move on to Midnights.
Yes.
Kind of when you started to.
When I truly embraced the Swiftiness. Midnights, of course, is that beautiful midnight blue. The sparkles, the colors, the jewels moving into Bejeweled, and bringing out that confidence, that feminine energy, that nurturing, but just even just, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I reflect and how I refract. And yeah, stunning, beautiful energy. And little story
Yeah.
with Midnights as well. I had gone to a Taylor Swift mom prom, and I won mom prom queen. And I was wearing my Midnights era dress that was actually my grad dress, and it was the perfect shade of midnight blue. It all was just such, it was such a magical evening. I won way too many of the gifts there. I feel honestly bad about it. I will always cherish that album and those songs with that memory. And that's how Taylor Swift works. We all have
Yeah.
memories associated with certain albums, certain songs. Even like the song Cardigan, which isn't something you'd really consider. Like, so many people actually proposed to that song too, right? Which is, I know it's not from this
Yeah.
album, but it just came to my mind. Like, that's just my special memory with Midnights. But lots of
Yeah.
confidence here in this album.
Yeah, so what's funny that you mentioned memories and stuff is she actually, I'm scrolling through her Instagram right now trying to find it so that I can quote it exactly, but it's taking me too long. One thing that she actually said when she released the album was she kind of painted it as, what are the memories that keep you awake at night? What are the things that's going through your head at midnight? That's why it's called Midnights, because it's the
Midnight Rain.
midnights. Yeah. Like, what is it that keeps you up at night? What are these memories that are causing you? Why are you awake at midnight, right? My midnights become my afternoons, right? Meaning I'm awake. Like,
Wide awake.
I'm up.
That witching hour.
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to the confidence of this album, I want to talk a little bit about Bejeweled, right? Because this song exudes confidence, right? I make the whole place shimmer. Don't put me in the basement. I want to be in the penthouse of your heart. What's interesting about this song, though, is earlier this year, and keep in mind this album now for like 2.5 years now. Earlier this year, she put out an audio describing this song, and it's actually the lack of confidence.
Yeah.
She described it as like, you're at home, you're in this relationship that is pulling you down, and like you just need something to bring you up. So you put on your best outfit, you go out to the club, and you fake it.
That's exactly what I did with mom prom too. That's exactly.
I remember you did not want to go, and I basically forced you.
Which was a very good thing. Very good thing. I
Yes,
have a
me
mom
and
prom shrine now in my house.
yeah,
But
and I
just
think
exuberating and faking it till you make it, right?
so. That's one thing that I think is so interesting about that song, is that it is such a powerful, confident song, but really it wasn't. That I think is like so powerful, especially when it comes to color magic, because we talk about like how these colors can do things. Not only can they do things in spells, like if you are doing a confidence spell, then you might use a midnight blue candle, but like if you're not feeling so hot today, go put on a midnight blue top. Go paint your nails midnight blue. wear dark blue jeans, like
Do the
wear
shady
some
blue eye shadow, right? Like the glamour magic.
exactly, like do something in your day to bring the magic of these colors so that you can exude what you're trying to to put out there, right?
Even just using
Um,
a midnight blue hairbrush, you know?
exactly. Just do it with a little bit of confidence, a little bit of intention.
Own it. Fake it till
Um,
you make it.
exactly. And her confidence in Mastermind, right? Like she's like, yeah, like you thought that this all happened, this was fate, this was destiny. It wasn't. I put myself in front of you. I put myself where I needed to be. And she's confident enough not only to do that, but to own it.
To admit it. But then that,
Yeah.
and it also alludes to a little bit of lack of confidence because she's saying, well, yeah, I wasn't loved as a kid. I can't remember the exact words, but, she didn't have very many friends, and that's why she does this. That's why she's so good at it.
Exactly. No one wanted to play with me as a kid anyway, so I like planned and I schemed, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is so interesting because my husband jokes all the time, and my sister as well, call me a schemer, and they say that my hands are all like rubbing together, and I'm like, I don't plot that much, but they're like, yeah, girl, and I'm like, well, there's a reason for that. Like, I had to. So yeah, like I see a lot of her confidence in this album. Not only actual confidence like in Karma, where she's like she knows that Karma's got her back, but like forced confidence, which I think it's sad, but like in a way it's very beautiful.
Well, and it's also like I mean, we see this a lot in multiple different songs, but especially with this, like she's manifesting that too. Like
Right.
she is declaring that karma's going to show up for her because she knows
Exactly.
it has in the past, and she's declaring that it will continue to do so, right?
Yeah, exactly. Midnights is one of my favorite albums conceptually. Maybe not all the like I don't think I have any Midnight songs in like my top 10, but as a concept, it's such a beautiful album.
It
So,
is. It truly is. Which leads us, of course, to the
yes.
Tortured Poets Department, and that was the first album that I remember you texted me like, "Hey, album's out. Get to Spotify now."
Go.
And we listened
Yeah.
to it one by one and bawled our eyes out the entire time
Yep.
because that album, I mean, all of her albums are literally earth-shaking, but that album, in my opinion, changed the world in big
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
And it, of course, it shows a lot of white energy, purity, cleanness, renewal. But it's also like that kind of blank slate. And, she shows with the Tortured Poets Department, she's showing a lot of imagery of the asylum and the mental issues. And white can be a little bit like it's unknown, right? It
Yeah.
is lack of color. So it's a little bit of maybe anxiousness, but it's also anticipation.
Yeah, and I truly think that this album is a great way to end the Eras tour. I mean, it doesn't end the Eras tour, the Midnight's album does, but like I'm happy that she added it to the Eras tour because it truly feels like the end of the era of eras.
Yeah.
Like she's renewed herself with some of these songs like So Long London. She's like, I loved you, London. And in saying that, she means actually London, but she also means her ex. She's like, I loved you, but you are not for me anymore.
Yeah.
Right? I'm cleaning myself of that.
Moving on.
Florida. Yeah. Florida. She described that because people are like, what is this song about? She's like, literally disappearing. Like, where do people go when they need a break? They go to Florida, where all the crazy people are. I can say that. I'm a Floridian.
Florida man, Florida woman in the bog somewhere
Yeah,
with an alligator.
exactly. Who's afraid of little old me? How cathartic. Wow.
Whether you have been bullied, prosecuted, maybe you are a witch, a literal witch, and you feel like you've been in that situation of being burnt at the stake, so to speak. Like, so many feelings and emotions in that scenario, in that song.
I remember when this song came out, I told my husband, I was like, look, not to sound edgy, but like I relate to this song on such a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it's just a song about being misunderstood,
Totally.
right? The whole part that's like, I put narcotics in all my songs. That's why you're still listening along. At least that's what they say. I'll sue you if you step on my lawn. Like it's all this stuff that's like you have this perception of me that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? I'm going to take that perception and I'm going to use it to my advantage because I'm not going to change your opinion about me.
Yeah.
So,
I leap from the gallows. I levitate down your street because she's okay. This is where you're accusing me. This is where you're trying to hang me. This is where you're trying to make me pay for my dues. Well, forget that. I'm going to rise above that and I'm going to move forward, you know?
yeah. Yeah. One thing I will say about this song, so the other song, going back to Midnight's a little bit, that I was like, oh, this song did she write it about me? Was You're on Your Own, Kid.
Hmm.
And what I think is interesting about the two parallels of these songs is You're on Your Own, Kid is about like being misunderstood, being alone, people not understanding you, but like you're going to make it work because you always have. You always have, you're going to make it work. One of the lines in that song is from Sprinkler Splashes, Fireplace Ashes. I gave my blood, sweat, and tears for this. I starved my body, whatever. And then she says, the jokes weren't funny, right?
Yeah.
Meaning all those jokes that were made in Reputation era, those weren't funny. I'm over them. I don't want to hear them anymore. I don't want to hear about how I have all these boyfriends. The jokes aren't funny
Yeah.
anymore,
Let him go.
right?
Yeah.
And then in TTPD and Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, she says again, she mentions jokes. Basically saying, I'm gonna find it. Give me 1 second.
On my own, journey in listening to this album, Fortnite, My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys, Guilty of Sin, I Can Fix Him, No Really I Can, But Daddy I Love Him. So many
Yeah.
memories attached to those songs in terms of, relationships gone bad. And then the
Yeah.
alchemy, the prophecy, like, oh.
She mentions again jokes. I think it says like, go ahead and tell me one more joke.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So in Midnight, she's like, the jokes aren't funny anymore. And in TTPD, she's like, okay, I said that. You're still making jokes. Go ahead and do it one more time. Go ahead. You know? And yeah, I just think that this album was, like I said, an ending to something huge. It was the end of the era,
Yeah.
right? And completely renewal.
Which you can see in her life in
Yeah.
now we're
Yeah.
ending the Eras tour, and we're I guess by now when the podcast is released it will have ended.
Yeah.
And she's moving into her 35th year, right? She's turning 35. It's amazing. It's
So,
absolutely amazing. She has definitely and it's like she says, she's fearful for the Eras tour to end because now what, but that's the
right.
beauty of a clean slate. That is the
Yep.
beauty of whatever is next is going to be another amazing adventure. It's a new
Yeah.
page, a new chapter, a new book even.
So, yeah, that's the color magic that she brings forth. I don't even know if she does it on purpose. Like, I don't know if she knows. I mean, she probably does now, but I don't know if she knew back then that red would encompass what the color red is, or that 1989 would encompass what light blue means. Like, I don't know if she knew any of this when it was happening, but that's just the magic of her.
Whether or not she knew, it was all lined up. The
Yep.
universe figured that out, and
Exactly.
we actually have more notes to go regarding Taylor Swift and some magical correspondences, but we're gonna leave it here for today. Thank you so much for tuning in with us, and if you have any suggestions or anything you'd like us to go over regarding Taylor Swift or any other artist for that matter, we're just Swifties here, so we had to talk about it. But just let us know either by reaching out or leaving a comment here on wherever you're tuning in. But thank you so much for tuning in with us again here at Crossroads Coven Connections.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.
Love you lots. Blessed be.
Blessed be.